Mr. Bryant joins me now. Do you think, Mr. Bryant, that you got a satisfactory answer to your question?
Do you? No, obviously not. I mean, you know, I think sometimes it's perfectly legitimate if a minister gets something wrong by accident, they misspoke or whatever, they have an opportunity to correct the record. And that's where I started with the Prime Minister. Why do you never correct the record? Because there's so many cases when, you know, just looking at the facts, he's not told us the truth. He's told lies. And when he refuses to correct the record, then it becomes a deliberate lie in my mind. And that was the problem that I was trying to get to. He waffled on about the £350 million on the side of the bus, which incidentally he was told off categorically by the UK Statistics Authority for as a clear misuse of official statistics. But there's a simple point here. He's trying to pretend now that he sacked Matt Hancock.
Well,
he clearly didn't.
He said that he heard about it on the Friday and by Saturday we had a new health secretary. That's true.
Yeah, that's a line, isn't it? It's not an answer to the question, did you sack?
It's not an answer to the question, no, but it's not a lie. That's what happened.
It is a lie. It is a lie because what he actually said at the time, he's trying to muddy the waters, and that makes it an obfuscatory lie. It's not the direct lie, of course, but it is an obfuscation and a deliberate hiding of the truth. Because what did he actually say at the time? That this matter was closed. Well, you know, he is remarkable in the number of times that he's told fibs. I mean, it's about CO2 emissions. He's told fibs in the House of Commons. The relative poverty under Labour or under Conservatives. Nurses' bursaries, he told fibs about that. The government's record on the NHS, which he said was a record investment, when in actual fact the figure was much higher under Labour. And now this issue about Matt Hancock. But you know, I know some people say to me quite often, voters don't care about this stuff. That's not the issue for me. The issue for me is, does the Prime Minister care about standards in public life or not? And that's why I wanted to suggest, for instance, that there's a problem here, that we have one set of rules for the government and a completely different set of rules for other people. He seemed to think that the Matt Hancock issue was not an issue that required resignation. And then 24 hours later, when lots of new information came out, of course, it became inevitable. He didn't sack him, he resigned.
And now we found ourselves in a situation where we do have a new health secretary and everything is going to open up on the 19th. The PM in PM's said that it was reasonable how they've opened up. The Labour leader has a very different take on it. What do you think?
Two things. First of all, obviously, we're just talking about England here. I'm a Welsh MP, so we have slightly different arrangements in Wales. And I think Mark Drakeford has approached things with a much more rational, sensible approach than Boris Johnson has in England. But the second point I'd say is, if people are still going to have to isolate when they are pinged by the app or when they're in close contact with somebody who's had COVID, and we have got 100,000 cases a day, which is what the government itself is predicting, so 700,000 a week, that is going to be somewhere in the region of 4 million people self-isolating for 10 days every week, all the way until the middle of August. Now, that's obviously going to mean lots of holidays may be affected. That doesn't matter maybe so much as the fact that supermarkets are going to struggle if 20% of their staff are not able to come in. The NHS is going to struggle if 20% of its staff is unable to come in. Most of our public services are going to struggle if 20% of their staff are unable to come in. So I think what we've got now is the worst of all possible worlds. I desperately want us to be able to get to a point where we can open up, but you cannot have illogical, inconsistent and reckless rules in place. And just on the position of masks, I hate masks. I loathe wearing a mask. But I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for others. And that's why you need an approach, which is we're all in this together. We all take common decisions. And that's why I think the government really does need to review this issue of keeping masks in place for a little bit longer.
It's interesting when you bring up this issue of masks, because a lot of people are saying when you actually look at the policy of Labour, yes, A lot of your MPs have come out, and even Keir Starmer has come out and said this isn't how it should be done. You know, this opening up on the 19th and then this delay until the 16th. But when you look at your policy, it seems that actually the only thing that you would do differently is the issue of masks. How would you approach things differently?
Well, this is one area. I just wouldn't release everything at the same time, because each element that you release sort of unpacks another element of risk into the equation. And doing all of them at the same time, I think, is reckless. And I think it's been done because the Prime Minister he's so focused on this idea of himself being the jovial, jolly chap in Britain who's coming to bring hope to everybody, like a latter-day Jesus Christ. But actually, I think far more sensible is really to drill down on the data rather than the dates. And he just always got fixed on the dates because he wants to have a big, full House of Commons sitting behind him on the Tory benches 2 days after the 19th of July. I sometimes despair of the approach he takes, and some of the policies that he's now got are just completely and utterly impractical. This issue of what you're doing about pinging people is completely impractical, and I think is likely to lead to people simply breaking the law. And that's the worst of all possible worlds.
OK, Mr. Bryant, thank you so much. You're going to have to leave it there, but thanks a lot for talking to us.
Thank you.